Namaste everyone, this is M. Srinivasu, English faculty from DAV High School, RTP Township. Today we are going to discuss the 12th reading comprehension interaction from Unit 1 of Class 9th English with the title called The Snake and the Mirror. Before we get into it, let us just read the lines and then we interact the particular lines. There was some pain in my left arm. It was as if a thick leaden rod, no, a rod made of molten fire, was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. The arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. What could I do? At my slightest moments, the snake would strike me. Death lurked 4 inches away. Suppose it stuck. What was the medicine I had to take? There was no medicine in the room. I was the poor, foolish, and stupid doctor. I forgot my danger and smiled feebly at myself. Before we get into these lines, let us just have a recapitulation of the previous connected concept that you might have remembered. There was a snake landed on the chair and then it crept onto his shoulder and then it gripped his left arm above the elbow and then had its strong grip then and rested its head on the shoulder and he opened its hood and then it started looking at the other and almost hissing. So almost what else? When he turned, the snake was as close as to him. So he was turned to a stone. There was no movement at all and he has been thinking about the Almighty and to save his life. So this is the situation now. And then keeping the previous lines in the mind, let us get into today's discussion. There was some pain in my left arm. He said there was some pain in the left arm. Why is it happening? No, he was experiencing some pain as the snake was coiled around his left arm and now it started crushing. That means making its body moving more stronger to the object that it is surrounded. Like sometimes it is the nature of some pythons you generally observe, they coil around the object and they crush the object to death or to break into pieces and later they try to enjoy. That's one of the techniques that they use to save their lives or hunt food. So this is of some kind of a same thing. Even sometimes these pythons they swallow and they go crushing the internal food into pieces by to a strong tree or something. Maybe not that exactly, but here what is happening? The snake took its grip around the arm, so he had some pain in the left arm, as it was even the left arm where the snake was held its grip. Now, it was as if a thick leaden rod. Now, what else? It was, what is it? The pain that he is talking about. The pain that he was experiencing, he would like to share to us in a different way. So that is, it was as if. Earlier we have thought of this particular as if usages. As if is generally used to say something exaggerated, not accurate. Earlier also I have given the example, if you can remember it well, otherwise I repeat the same. For example, he behaves as if he is the owner of the theatre. That means he is not at all the owner of the theatre, but he is a bind up, you see, like he is giving a pose that he is the owner of the theatre. So such kind of a usages we use as if. Now it was as if a thick leaden rod. So something like that you see in iron rods. For example, if you hit that iron rod over someone, over the arm or something, how much pain that particular person experienced, similar pain that he is expressing. And no, a rod made of molten fire. Molten means a rod which is burned in high temperatures. High temperatures. If you can see, iron is molded when it is in hot. So if you are molding any iron, you generally need to keep it in the highest temperatures in a fire so that it turns to red in color, so that if you can mold it, it mold according to your idea and vision. Similar way, he thought, for example, it was not just like a rod. It was a rod with the highest temperatures burning. If that particular burning rod was placed on the arm, how much pain that we generally feel, such a pain that he is experiencing, he said. Absolutely, it is an exaggeration, it's a figure of speech, but not that we can take it that his experience of pain is expressed in this form of like a high temperature rod was kept on the arm. How much pain one person feels. Similar, it is happening. Now, for example, further we move on. Was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. What does he say? It's not at a time happening. It is not a sudden movement. It was as soon as it started taking grip on his arm. Then the blood circulation from bottom to the top, maybe you can see fingers to the shoulder, is not moving properly, so that he could able to feel some pain, like a crushing pain. That crushing pain he is comparing it as a molten fire, a rod which is made of molten fire. If it is kept on the arm, how much pain does generally make? Such a pain I am facing, such a pain I am experiencing. That's what he said. Besides what else? It's not sudden, but it is slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. What does he say? It's powerfully crushing. Crushing means any two sides something there, and it is kept in the middle to break into pieces, nothing but called crushing. For example, you see, you might have seen the accident cases also. People were crushed in a car. Sometimes you might see. So some objects was made into pieces in the two different strong objects. Is nothing but called crushing. So he said, my arm was crushing, but powerfully, slowly, but it is powerful. So as the snake is coiled around, it is started taking the grip, and thus it is making the person is feeling pain out of it. Next thing, the arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. What should I do? So what does he say? I started standing like a stone without any movement. The snake was coiling around and it was crushing too hard. It was slow but very, very powerful. And then my arm was losing all the strength, drained off me, loose left. For example, leave. That you can say in the past tense, left. So almost his strong arm was started losing all its energy, and he felt that there was no energy even to lift the arm to up. At the same time, he could not do that such a lifting the arm, because the snake is coiled around. It is a danger for his life. But he feels that there is no energy in the arm. He felt that the complete energy of his arm is started going away. And now he had a question. What could I do? Now he had a question in his thought, in his mind. What is now my next step is? Now the snake is around, coiled around his left arm, and the energy is all completely going, and the snake is powerfully crushing his arm. He is feeling a lot of pain, as if it is a molten fire. A rod made up of molten fire was kept on his left arm, or bet on his left arm. So what could he do? He was in a thought process of what the next step of him. Next. At my slightest moment, the snake would strike me. So he could do nothing. That's why he said, what could I do? It is an expression of helplessness. He could do nothing over this. So that's why he said, what could I do? I could just experience it, face it, that's all. No other moment is possible. If it is happened, he said, at my slightest moment, the snake would strike me. If I just move as my arm is feeling pain, immediately the very active snake like cobra that was now surrounded around his left arm, that will strike him directly on the face. There is no secondary thought, so he will leave his soul to the heaven. So that is what is a fear. So he better losing the better than losing the life, sitting better without any movement is fine, rather living life, allowing the snake to bite on his face. Now, on his face or maybe other part of the body. Death lurked 4 inches away. Lurked means is almost moved. That means sometimes you see when people in the greatest danger and survive themselves, they may feel that how life is very important. Some, for example, you might see some pathetic stories. At this particular point, you may see people who underwent effect of COVID-19 and recovered and come back. So that they have seen the death in very close context. Other than that, a person who was in a calamity like a tsunami and his body was twisted and turned in the ocean's bed and the ocean's water and hit to the different objects in the dark when he was thrown away by the currents of the water, and thus he saved his life. That means he almost experienced the fewest hours of the death. Similar way, he was almost in a feeling that death was just about 4 or 3 inches away. That's all. If any wrong step I take, it will strike me. So automatically I have to leave my soul to the heaven. That's what it is. Next one. Suppose it struck. What was the medicine I had to take? He was in the thought, for example. Being a doctor, he may think positively. It is not even necessary to think if the snake bite people die. Nowadays, modernized medicine is available. If you are rescued and if you are being in time to the hospital or to the rescue center, definitely you can survive yourself out of this danger like a snake bite. And you also can have a anti-venom injections and all. Immediately, if you have taken anti-venom injection, you'll be fine. So he basically a doctor. He is thinking if it is struck, stuck. Striking means hitting or biting, and if it is in the past tense, we generally call it as a stuck. For example, it stuck. What was the medicine I have to take? He was in the dilemma. For example, it stuck and go. Immediately, what are the medicines available in my room to take immediately to save my life? This is what thought in his mind arose. Now, arose. Now, there was no medicine in the room. Basically, a practitioner, they generally keep some medicines in the home. As he is a person of new, he started his career new and he was established practice recently, and he maybe had no idea that the patients may come to his house for getting treatment. So he did not feel to preserve any medicines at his home. So if he was thought for a minute and then identified that there was no medicine in the room was preserved to take immediately if the snake bite him, struck him. Right? Next, I was the poor, foolish, stupid doctor. So what is now he saying? He was scolding himself. He was humiliating himself. I was the poor guy. See, sometimes life is very important. If your life is in a danger like a snake bite, it is very poor state of living your life. For example, you see, everyone have to leave yet. Once you are when you once started living on the earth then. For example, if you are protecting your land and die as a soldier, military officer, the regard for your death will be more. For example, you are living a life on the footpath as no one wanted your life and you died like a beggar and nobody even bothered about that particular death also. So here, everybody live their soul, but ultimately in what way you left your soul and in what sense it is mean is very, very important. Here the same point. So he thought himself, I was very, very poor. Maybe my life going to end in this way. And next to foolish, he said himself is a foolish. Why did he say? Because he did not keep medicine with him for any kind of an emergency. So that's why he is very, very fool. And stupid. Stupid means had no knowledge at all. If you can just see these three different words, we have opposites also, antonyms also. We also can see a fool generally is rich naturally. Poor and rich is a state of leading life. Otherwise, even though one is a poor status and the rich status and poor condition and better in condition, that's somehow, but rich directly opposite. For example, fool or foolish, and then this opposite is clever, and stupid opposite is wise. Wise is stupid. It is wiseness is more than cleverness. You might know about the wisdom. Wisdom is nothing but called using your all the knowledge in the proper way to take decisions or give judgments. That's what we call as a wisdom. So stupid people, they never be in the such a way to think in the perfect way of idea. So here what else? Stupid people, they are compared to be a donkey, and the wise people are generally compared to be a King Solomon. I think you might know the story. Once King Solomon had a problem that there are two women have come with the baby, stating both of them are the mothers of the particular baby. After thinking for a minute to give the judgment, and he drew his sword, and he said, I would divide, I would kill the baby, and I would make it into two pieces. One piece you take, one piece another one will take. But the real mother said, no, please don't do that, my dear majesty. You please leave the baby for the other. So thus he solved the problem that the real mother only can feel about the person or baby. So ultimately what else? He has given the baby to the real mother who requested him not to kill, and then the other woman was arrested for her crooked idea of stealing the baby of others. Now coming to this. So stupid is such a one that they never think in the any way, there is no mental strength, mental power to think in the proper way. So that people are possible. So he he has given all kinds of adjectives for his appearance, like state. So he was a poor doctor, he was a foolish doctor, he was a stupid doctor as well. So because he was in such a danger that there was no medicine was kept in the room, he added all these adjectives to describe himself. But he was a doctor, but what to do? He has a very stupid doctor, foolish doctor, and in a poor state he is in living his life. At the last line you see, I forgot my danger and smiled freely at myself. Now you can see that directly he was at the table and looking himself in the mirror. Almost he was in front of the mirror. He forgot his danger. What should he do? What is the condition? If he think also of no use. There was a snake on his shoulder about 2, 3 or 4 inches away. It will bite him and make him kill. So there is no point of thinking about the life and death. Whatever the God Almighty decide, that will happen. He may be thought. Maybe. Now what else? So he forgot his danger. So let it go, whatever happened according to his will and wish, let it happen to God. And smiled. Feebly. Feebly means weakly. Sometimes when you are in a complete disappointment, if somebody asks you to smile, you smile without any enthusiasm, without any reality of smile. We smile in such a way to express our almost disappointment or about our helplessness. So that smile is this. He was smiled in such a way at the last. I think you may remember, earlier he had a vision that he wanted to shave daily and grow a thin mustache, and he wanted to marry a woman doctor, and you had a very good practice, and even she must be very rich. With all such thoughts, he was also thought of making his smile on his face always. So now he may be trying his last smile, looking at himself and smile very, very feebly. That means unattractive, and expressing his disappointment, helplessness. He smiled at last, and he smiled at himself. Smiled at himself in the sense it is a different usage. That sometimes you see we have some vision of no bad idea about someone else. For example, you wanted to scold them, and you wanted to scold them in such a way, and you smile at them very feebly about their poor condition. That way you are daily life. We smile in such a way that smile expresses that we have a lot of compassion, sympathy on others. So this smile that he expresses tells that he is expressing a lot of sympathy about his own life, and he is being a doctor, living his life in such a way, and he was in such a danger to lose his life. So this is the thing for today, and I would like to recapitulate once again. And in the first lines we have seen the snake was coiled around his left arm, that was kept crushing, and he felt exaggerated that the pain, as if like a thick molten rod, was kept on his left arm. And even more, he said that was not suddenly but slowly but powerfully crushing his arm, he said. And he also felt there was no strength in his arm, and all the strength was started riding off. And the last one, what else? And he also realized and recollected, if he had the slightest moment, he would die because the snake would strike him. And then almost he thought he almost death 3 or 4 inches away he felt. At the last, what else? For example, if the snake bite, what my next step was, he thought. And he thought of taking medicine and recollected that there was no medicine in the room. And even more, what else? And he realized there is a great danger for his life. And then he forgot all the danger, that the snake was there on his face about just 3 or 4 inches, and he is about to hit on his face, strike on his face, and he looked at himself and smiled feebly. That smile represents that he was showing a lot of compassion on his own self. So this is today, my dear children, and you prepare it well to read the lines more thoroughly to understand the